Final topic about money for today is this idea of liquidity. And I've mentioned it a couple times, right? But liquidity is the ease with which an asset can be converted into an economy's medium of exchange. So basically, how likely is it that someone will accept this as payment, right? So for example, think about if you have a notebook in front of you, right? That notebook is not very liquid, right? You couldn't just take that notebook and trade it for some groceries today. Most people would not take it, right? But if you converted that notebook into cash, right, that cash would be very liquid. Most people would take that as payment. And so that's what like liquidity means, is just how easily do people accept it as payment. There are measures of liquidity, and I'm going to go through them here. Okay, you do not have to know M3. You only need to know M0, M1, and M2. All right, but these are some different measurements of money, and actually we could go beyond M3 if we wanted to, but that's just as far as I have on here. Right. So as we go down this list, some trends you need to be aware of. As you go down this list, okay, you're getting less liquid. So in other words, M0 is out of this list is the most liquid. M3 is the least liquid. All right. So and another thing you need to understand is as you go down this list, each level in this list contains all the previous levels as well. So here's what I mean by that, or you'll see what I mean by that when we start going through this. Okay, so M0, that's the most liquid. That is currency. That is hard money, right? So like physical currency and coins that people have, right? That's the most liquid form of money there is. Almost every single business in America takes M0. M1, all right, this is what I mean by containing each successive level. M1 contains all of M0. So included within M1 is M0. So it's M0 plus demand deposits and traveler's checks, right? You don't really need to know anything about traveler's checks other than they're just like a special type of check that people use. People don't really use them anymore. People just use debit cards now. But like a traveler's check is like a special type of check that you could use when you were out of town, like traveling in different parts of the country. That's all it is. Okay. But nobody really uses them anymore. But what you do need to know definitely is the definition of demand deposits. Demand deposits are accounts at banks that depositors can access on demand. In other words, by writing a check. In other words, a demand deposit is your checking account. Okay, your checking account is a demand deposit, right? You can access that money on demand. You can swipe your card, you can write a check, and it will immediately withdraw that money out of your account to use to pay to people, right? So that money is available to you on demand, thus the name demand deposit, right? So M1 is all of M0 plus demand deposits, and traveler's checks as well, but again, traveler's checks aren't really that important. Okay, M2 is all of M1, so it includes everything that was in M1, plus what are called small-time savings deposits and money market shares. Small-time savings deposits would be like your savings account at your bank. All right, it probably has a really low minimum balance, maybe like $10. Like that's what mine is. Some of you guys might have a minimum balance in your savings account of $100. Okay, you probably have like some version of a money market savings account at your bank. That's probably what you have. That's all of M2. It's a little less liquid, right? Because if you wanted to access that money, you would have to transfer that money out of your savings account into your checking account or withdraw it as cash before you could spend it, right? You can't spend based on what you have in your savings account. You got to transfer that out of your savings account to some kind of checking account. So that makes it a little bit harder to get to. So that's why it's in M2. And then M3, again, you don't really need to know this, but it's like large time savings deposits. So like typically like very large savings accounts, all right? But it includes all of M2 plus all those large time savings accounts. Okay. Now, if we added up all of M0 all the way down to whatever level it goes to on these levels of money, okay, you wouldn't actually get the total amount of money that's out there in the world. And the reason why is because a lot of our U.S. dollars like circulate in black markets and illegal activities, and a lot of U.S. dollars are just floating around in other countries. So we're not actually 100% certain like how much U.S. dollars or how many U.S. dollars are actually out there. We don't actually know the answer to that question. We have an idea, but we don't know for sure. Okay. And then last thing, this is just like a sort of a visual of what it was I was talking about just a second ago, right? If you look at this graph on the left, or this bar graph on the left right here in M1, you'll notice it includes all of M0, right? And so M0 is currency, and then M1 is all this other stuff. Right, so add all these things together to get M1. And then to get M2, right, you'll add in everything from M1 plus all these other things, right? So again, each successive level contains every other level. So what I'm saying is like, if we have $100 in cash and that's it, that means that the total value of M0 is $100, right? If we have $100 in cash and $200 in a checking account, then we have $100 from M0 plus $200 in a checking account. So the total value of M1 would be $300, right? And then if we had $300 in M1 and then another $1,000 in small time savings deposits, right? It'd be $300 of M1 plus that $1,000 for a total of $1,300 in M2. So that's how you think about this M0 to M3 stuff and liquidity of money.